Joe, it's wonderful to have you with us. I feel like you're a member of the household. You've been with us so long.
I'm so flattered to be the opening act for the lady who works in the men's room. And my ambition in life to do a thing like this, and I just feel like telling her later on when I leave, if she could work with a notebook and a camera, that she could supply some good material for the Globe or the Star. I'm sure she's thought about that, right? So,
well, we should make her money, Joe. You know, I think she's doing pretty well there.
And Barbara, I've heard Barbara sang as part of a nostalgia show that I did once. She did a Kate Smith medley, and she's a fabulous. So this is really an all-star lineup, and this is your debut as a talk show host.
It is, yes. It's my first break as a kid, and maybe I can give you some tips on how to do talk shows. I know that you have the longest-running talk show in the history of the business.
I began when there was no such thing, Stuart, as a talk show. I was just doing radio.
How old were you then, Joe?
I was 17. I was the protege of a man named Martin Block. Same as you're somebody's protege, right, on this series,
Not
right?
that I know of. My own protege.
All right, I met some producer, right? And anyhow, so Martin Block got me my radio show, and I was just doing radio. And I get a phone call one day from Channel 7, ABC TV, it was then WJZ TV. They told me that they're occupying daytime TV. TV was only on the air then from 5 o'clock at night till sermonette. There was no daytime TV. So they said, Joe, we like your program, we like your voice on the radio, would you like to do an hour a day? I said, I'll try it. They said, what kind of a show, if we give you an hour a day, Joe, what kind of a show would you do? I said, how about if I do a show of people talking? They said, Joe, you're out of your mind. Who's going to watch people talk? The word is television. You got to give them vision. Got to give them seltzer bottles, pratfalls, baggy pants, burlesque skits. But I defied. No, I said, well, if I can't do a show of kids of people talking, Stuart, I said, how about if I do a show of kids dancing to rock and roll? Because rock and roll was getting big then. They said, now we know you're crazy. Who's going to watch kids dancing to rock and roll? Who comes along? Dick Clark becomes a billionaire. But I defied them, and I think I did what was the first nose-to-nose, eyeball-to-eyeball, face-to-face.
How many people do you think watched your show over the years?
200,000. Mm-hmm. And this week is kind of an anniversary. This week, Stuart, is, I know we're on live at this moment, so people might like to know that it's actually the week when I'm commemorating 40 years of being a talk show host. Mm-hmm. My 40th anniversary. Let's hear it from me. And I gave the first exposure. Nobody discovered it. I've done 200,000 guests. But I gave the first exposure ever to Barbra Streisand, Bill Cosby, Liza Minnelli, Joan Rivers, Bruce Springsteen, Michael Jackson when he was with the Jackson 5, Madonna, Robert Redford, Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, and I guess the list is endless.
Did most of them appreciate what you did for them?
Very few come back, because I symbolize. That's a good question. You're a great talk show. I represent to them the time when they were broke, and they don't want to be reminded. Most of them don't come back. It's kind of shallow, but I guess it's human nature. Most of them don't come back. But Bill Cosby came back. Woody Allen comes back once in a while, but most of them don't come back. Mm-hmm. Most of them.
Is there anyone you would like to interview you haven't? You've interviewed just about everybody famous in the entertainment world. And
I wanted Greta Garbo. We meet in the street and she smiled at me, but we just never. But sometimes I read in the magazine that certain people never did a talk show, and I've got the photographs or the kinescopes to prove. I'll read what Cary Grant never did one, Charlie Chaplin never did one, John Wayne, James Cagney. I've had them all. And I'm not being facetious. I would like to have you because I've been an admirer of your private line of endeavor. I know you're one of my very favorite barristers, counselors at law. And so I'd like to one day I'm having a panel of mayoral candidates soon with Mr. Giuliani and Mr. Stein and Mr. Dinkins. Maybe you come on one day and we'll...
I'd love to. I've got a few things to say about Halcyon and Upjohn and some of these silicone breast implants. I have a few thousand words to say about those subjects, and I hope I'll get the chance on your show someday.
I'd love it, and I just want to say it again, welcome to the field, because it's a fascinating field, and for me to be with you on your first appearance in that capacity, Stuart, I guess the main ingredient is sincerity. That's what I've always said. You know, the mortality rate in my field, there have been 400 talk show hosts came and went since I began. 400. I think part of the secret, I've said the main thing is sincerity. And once you learn to fake that, then you got it made. No. But, and also, be a little bit defiant. Whenever you get a big guest, they'll always retina you. They warn you what you must not talk about. So whatever they tell you not to talk about that. Talk about that.
Except with this one, huh?
Well, except
this one. You know, I know there was